there, math analyzers, and welcome to your chapter 6 quiz number 2 review. So, all things parabolas properties. Here we go. Since this review is getting you ready for your quiz, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one side, which is one quadratic equation, and I'm going to do all the stuff you're about to be asked to do on your quiz with that one quadratic equation. And then I will leave you to try the other side, whichever out of the two that I choose. And from there, you will be able to see the answer key. I'll post the answer key. Okay. So here goes. I'm going to pick the even side because I like even numbers. Don't sue me. That's how it is. The first thing I'm going to be asked to do on my quiz is I'm going to be asked to graph my parabola and label. Okay, so let's graph our parabola. I'm choosing number 2, so let me do this. And the labelings are going to be exactly the same as what I'm asking for here. So I'm just making this nice and big. So, got stuff from the last lesson that I recorded for you guys. And let's see. Red is fine, right? You guys are all right with red? Negative x squared plus 4x plus 5 is my quadratic function. Oh, wait, is there a purple? You guys will go gaga if I do a purple because you guys love this stupid trash color. Let's see. Let's see if there is one. Magenta might be your closest thing there, kiddos. Yep. All right, that's a compromise since magenta is pink. And pink is awesome. Okay, there we go. Let's graph this guy, and we should be able to see what we're looking for. Well, frowny face parabola. Yeah, got some good features here. Our roots, right? -1 and +5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Y-intercept up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. +5 up here. Looks like our axis of symmetry and turning point are right here. Are they on that or are they between that? It looks like they're on x equals 2. And then what would this be? 2 +9? Something like that. Well, I mean, we'll figure it out pretty quickly by pressing second and graph to see our table of points. And of course, my graph is currently going from -6 to +4. But since I can't really graph -6, -55, let's head on down. So looks like -2, -7 is the lowest point to 6, -7, the lowest points that we'll be able to graph. The highest point we'll hit, which is the maximum, is the vertex. So 2, 9. Yeah, 2, 9. So it was actually on 2 as an integer. Okay, well, let's begin. So I'm just going to get my table on here. And again, all points that fit on the 10 by 10 grid is what I need. So I'm copying the table. -2, -7. And all the way down to, what did we say? 6, -7. Okay, and then so it was -1, 0, and 5, 0. Yep, that makes sense. Those are my roots. Okay, so I'm just going to put an R here because I know those are my roots. So I'm going to have to label those on my graph. That's one of the things I'm supposed to label. Then 0, 5. You know what? I'm going to label that as the y-intercept on the graph, even though I'm not technically told to. I'm just going to do that so that we know. Then we've got 1, 8, and 8 and 3, 8, and then 2, 9 is our axis of symmetry. X equals 2 is our axis of symmetry. The vertex or turning point is 2, 9, right? And it is also a maximum. So I'm going to put that. And I know that that's a high point because I've got a frowny face parabola, right? So that negative. All right, let me scooch all this over since we basically use that. I'm just going to go back and press graph so you can see it in your graphing calculator. And I'll zoom into all this good stuff. Let's get these points on here, and then let's start labeling stuff. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, how about? And down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down here. and then negative 1, 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 2, 9 is the turning point, and so we head back the direction we came. Okay, connect. Arrows at the last points. Do not try to pull your parabola down further than it fits on this graph, because if you do it wrong, I have to mark you wrong. Don't pull it further. Stop right there at those points with your arrows. We are indicating we know it continues, but don't try to faux the continue, right? You don't want to do it wrong. Here, all my labels I'll do in red. So my axis of symmetry cuts it in half. That would be AOS for axis of symmetry is X equals 2, because an axis of symmetry is always an equation. It's always a vertical line that is cutting your parabola in half. And the vertex is always on this. So my vertex is 2, 9. Okay, so I'm going to call that V for vertex, or you can call it TP for turning point, not toilet paper, turning point. Although toilet paper would be a very 2020 thing of it, right? It is also a max, so I am going to write that on here just in case, right? Because it does say, yep, label maximum or minimum. Okay, and then I'm going to label the y-intercept, which is 0, 5. That's my y-int. It didn't explicitly ask for that in the directions, but I might as well. That's a piece that we've talked about throughout this piece of the chapter, this middle of the chapter. And then, of course, we've got right here is negative 1, 0, and that's a root. And right here is another root, which is 5, 0. So those are my roots. And I think that's everything I was supposed to do, right? Label and state the axis of symmetry, vertex, max, min, and roots if there are rational roots. Well, we had rational roots, so that's good. Now, in your Google form, the next thing I'm going to ask for is state the equation of the axis of symmetry, state the vertex, and you've got to make sure those are in the correct form. I am going to mark you wrong if they're not. X equals for your axis of symmetry and point form for your vertex, okay? So just a heads up. Just a heads up. Okay. So this is actually going to be part A, and then this will be B, C, D, and E. Okay. So just so you have an idea of how that's going to look on your Google form. Okay. It's just slightly differently numbered than on this, but that's exactly the next things I'm going to ask. Okay. So axis of symmetry is always X equals, and in this case, it's X equals 2. The vertex is always the same X value, but the matching Y value. Then here you'll just have to pick in your Google form, you'll pick the multiple choice, but on this, let's circle that this is a maximum. And again, I know that because there's a negative in front of the X squared. So from the beginning, I knew this was going to be a frowny face parabola because it's got that negative X squared. Sorry, I keep writing in areas that are not visible to you. I'm sorry. There are 2 roots. They are rational, so I can put them. Roots are point form, so negative 1, 0, comma, positive 5, 0. There you go. So roots are point form. All right, heads up there. Right, that's how we want them entered in our Google form as well. Oh, I never went back to using blue. Sorry about that. So the way I set it up in your Google form, I did one quadratic function for parts A through K, right? So in your Google form, there's going to be question number 1 and question number 2, and that's it. But you have all these parts you have to answer for those. So as I go through this, I'm just going to show you what lines up with each of the parts as we go through. This would be question 2, part F. Okay, so this will be question 2, part F, which is to use the axis of symmetry formula to find the axis of symmetry and turning point algebraically. Okay, so this will be a work upload, all right? It will be x equals negative b over 2a is the axis of symmetry formula you need to use. And then you'll plug in negative of 4 over 2 times negative 1. You get -4 over -2, which of course reduces to +2. And what you want to do with this is look back up to your parabola. Did you just have that same axis of symmetry? So use your previous graph to double check your algebraic work. That's why I have them both here and using the same function. So you could use your previous work to help you check to make sure your algebra is done correctly. Now I just plug that into the equation for x. So y equals negative of 2 squared plus 4 times 2 plus 5. And hopefully that gives me 9. I'm going to do that in my graphing calculator right here. So let me just head back to my home screen, second and quit. Heads back to my home screen, and let's just enter all this good stuff here. So negative of 2 squared plus 4 times 2 plus 5 is hopefully 9. Awesome, because that now means my vertex is 2 comma 9 in parentheses. And if I look back up, that matches up too with what I already had from the graph. That's how we want to do this, okay? I do want you practicing with the odds over here, but again, this is sectioned into parts on your quiz and how you upload, okay? So now this would be number 2G. And number 2G is use the discriminant b squared minus 4ac to find a value. And then part H is tell me what does that value mean, okay? So let's see. B squared minus 4AC is, well, let's see. B is 4, so 4 squared minus 4 times -1 times +5, and let's see what we get. And again, I'm just going to plug that in here. That's all you have to do. In your in your Google form, there's just going to be a short answer, and you're just going to put the number that you get from the discriminant. So let's see how I do. 4 squared minus 4 times -1 times 5, and I get 36. So that is the answer for part G. Now part H is the describe the type of roots, and that's going to be a multiple choice. So remember that your choices are 2 rational, 2 irrational, 1 real, 2 imaginary. If you have a positive perfect square, like we do, as your discriminant, that's 2 rational roots. So that would be the choice that you'll pick. Okay, so notice I'm just showing you these are all number 2, and then these are each of the parts, and we go all the way to K, so we've still got a couple left. So HI, right? And this is sum and product. So I gave you the same quadratic function again. Sum, this is number 2, part I, right? So the sum is -b over A, and the product, which is part J, is C over A. Okay? So sum is part I, and this is part J. This is 2J. Okay? And all you're going to do is enter a value. You don't have to show me the work for that. You're just going to enter the value in the Google form. Of course, there'll be like a piece of paper that you take the picture of and upload it for all the work for this. But let's see, we've got negative of 4 over -1. So your sum of your roots is +4. And here for product, you've got 5 over -1. So the product of your roots is -5. So there's the answer to part I. There's the answer to part J. And lastly, part K. So this is going to be another work upload. So this will be number 2K, right? And it's going to be find the vertex form. So this will be the last thing I do, and then you try on the other side. That's all one quadratic used asked all these ways. All right, let's see here. Vertex form. Well, I'm going to need to divide everything by -1 to start. So negative y equals positive x squared minus 4x minus 5. Then I want to get this 5 away. So I got to add it over here. Just hang out. Just have the 5 hang out for now with the negative y squared minus 4x, excuse me, plus blank. Okay, and now fill in the blank. I hate the way that looks, so we're just going to change it, especially since I forgot the squared on the x anyway. There we go. -4 divided by 2 is -2, and -2 squared is +4. So put 4 on the blanks. This is now a perfect square trinomial, which of course factors to become x minus 2 in parentheses squared. Over here, add the numbers, so you get -y plus 9 equals that binomial squared. Now start to move your stuff back. Subtract the 9 off the end. -y equals all this. Because remember, once you got the binomial squared, it doesn't change. The stuff around it does. And then, of course, you got to move that negative back over. So divide by -1. And you get y equals negative of x minus 2 in parentheses squared plus 9. And then just real quick to remind you that this is vertex form of that function. The axis of symmetry is, of course, x equals the opposite sign of what's inside the parentheses, which is what we got on the front. And then the turning point or vertex is the opposite sign of what's inside the parentheses, the correct sign of what's outside the parentheses. And if you don't believe me that that vertex form is correct, go to your y equals. You already have this function in there. Now arrow down and put this next function in and check to make sure that they are exactly the same function when graphed. Negative of x minus 2 in parentheses squared, plus 9 off the end, and press graph. You'll see the purple, the magenta one, excuse me, and then notice the exact same parabola is now gold. That's what your quiz will be like. So please practice number 1 and all its parts in this practice piece. Okay, I will upload the answer key for this so you can check it and make sure that you had number 1, all the pieces correct. And then that's exactly what you will be doing to take your quiz number 2. Okay, good luck, guys. Shall be seeing you.